Hi, today is February 3rd, 2022, and what I'd like to do is read a few documents to you, excerpts from documents about a case that I think is quite important. It has to do with free speech, and it has to do with sovereign immunity, and it has to do with the speech and debate clause in the US Constitution. It's a case about a letter that Senator Elizabeth Warren, senior US Senator from Massachusetts, sent to Amazon about a book to which she took exception. And I'm going to read from her website where she describes what she wrote in the letter. And then I'll read from her lawyer's motion to dismiss the resulting lawsuit. So the recipients of the letter didn't sue, but the people who wrote and published the book to which Senator Warren took exception, they sued. And Senator Warren's lawyers are asking the court to dismiss the lawsuit. You may have read about this. There were some headlines back toward the end of last year. I'll blog about this, and I'm going to try to keep my editorializing and snarky voice to an absolute minimum as I read from the documents here. So first of all, reading from warren.senate.gov, Elizabeth Warren's official website. And this is her press release from September 8th, 2021. Warren investigation finds Amazon provides consumers with COVID-19 vaccine misinformation in search results. Senator demands that Amazon review and correct its algorithms that are leading consumers to falsehoods. So this press release describes the letter, and I urge you to read the press release in full. I'll just read an excerpt before I move on to the letter. Washington, D.C. United States Senator Elizabeth Warren, Democrat, Massachusetts, sent a letter to Amazon CEO Andy Jassy regarding the alarming discovery that Amazon is peddling misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines and treatments through its search and bestseller algorithms. This is the second time in 6 months that Senator Warren has identified Amazon practices that mislead consumers about COVID-19 prevention or treatment. Earlier this year, she raised concerns that the company is providing consumers with false and misleading information about FDA-authorized KN95 masks. Following the FDA's full approval of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine, and as the Delta variant surges across the country, Senator Warren is calling on Amazon to take aggressive action to stamp out COVID-19 misinformation. So that is how she, via this press release, is characterizing a letter that she wrote to Amazon. I'll reread that. Following the FDA's full approval of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, sorry. Is it just biotech? Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine, and as the Delta variant surges across the country, Senator Warren is calling on Amazon to take aggressive action to stamp out COVID-19 misinformation. Hold that thought. Here's the letter. US Senate letterhead, September 7th, 2021, to Andy Jassy, Chief Executive Officer. I won't read the whole thing, 6 pages, as you can see. I'll just read parts. I write regarding concerns that Amazon is peddling misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines and treatments through its search and bestseller algorithms. This is the second time in 6 months that I have identified Amazon practices that mislead consumers about COVID-19 prevention or treatment. Earlier this year, I wrote regarding concerns that the company is providing consumers with false and misleading information about FDA-authorized KN95 masks. This pattern and practice of misbehavior suggests that Amazon is either unwilling or unable to modify its business practices to prevent the spread of falsehoods or the sale of inappropriate products. An unethical, unacceptable, and potentially unlawful course of action from one of the nation's largest retailers, says Senator Warren, who's a member of the US Senate Committee on Finance and Subcommittee on Taxation and IRS Oversight. So skipping ahead a little, At a time when every step toward ending the pandemic could save countless lives, misinformation poses a substantial obstacle. In February 2020, the World Health Organization declared an infodemic to describe the difficulty of finding reliable information about COVID-19 in today's media environment. World Health Organization said that. Conspiracy theories about COVID-19 abound. Some insist that the virus is a hoax, others promote false cures to COVID-19, and many have led to untold illnesses and deaths. Despite the fact that vaccination remains our greatest tool to protect Americans from the virus, myths about COVID-19 vaccines continue to spread, often facilitated by technology companies that refuse to curb misinformation. Alarmingly, Amazon, the nation's leading online retailer, and the company's search algorithms appear to contribute to the spread of COVID-19 misinformation. During the week of August 22nd, 2021, my staff conducted sample searches on Amazon.com of pandemic-related terms such as COVID-19, COVID, vaccine, and COVID-19 vaccine, and pandemic. The top results consistently included highly ranked and favorably tagged books based on falsehoods about COVID-19 vaccines and cures. Oh, and here's a picture of the book to which she's taking particular offense, The Truth About COVID-19, Exposing the Great Reset, Lockdowns, Vaccine Passports, and the New Normal. The book perpetuates dangerous conspiracies about COVID-19 and false and misleading information about vaccines. It asserts that vitamin C, or vitamin, as we Americans say, vitamin C, vitamin D, and quercetin, supplements sold on Mercola's website, Mercola's author of this book, by the way, can prevent COVID-19 infection, a claim with such little scientific basis that the FDA sent a letter instructing Mercola to cease selling these supplements for the unapproved and unauthorized treatment of COVID-19. And the book contends that vaccines cannot be trusted when study after study has demonstrated the overwhelming effectiveness and safety of COVID-19 vaccines. By the way, I'm not in the office today because about 10 months after my Johnson & Johnson one and done shot, and not even 3 months after my Moderna booster, which I got beginning of November, I tested positive for COVID-19 this morning. That's why I'm at home feeling absolutely fine. It should come as no surprise that the book is rife with misinformation, says Senator Warren, blah, blah, blah. Not going to read the whole letter. What I'm going to do now is skip toward the end where she makes her requests. Given the seriousness of this issue, I ask that you perform an immediate review of Amazon's algorithms and within 14 days, provide both a public report on the extent to which Amazon's algorithms are directing consumers to books and other products containing COVID-19 misinformation, and a plan to modify these algorithms so that they no longer do so. In order to fully understand Amazon's role in facilitating misinformation about COVID-19 and its actions to address the issue, I also request responses to the following questions by September 22nd, 2021. 1. What are Amazon's existing policies regarding the listing, promotion, and sale of books and other products containing COVID-19 misinformation on its platform? 2. What specific actions has Amazon taken to address the spread of COVID-19 misinformation via search results or other uses of its platform? 3. Why do Amazon's search algorithms prominently list books with COVID-19 misinformation? 4. Why do books with COVID-19 misinformation receive bestseller tags from Amazon? What criteria does Amazon use? I think that should be do. What criterion does, what criteria do? What criteria does Amazon use to award these tags? And what steps does Amazon take to highlight products containing the tag? Forget what I said about criterion, getting my subject and object mixed up. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, Elizabeth Warren, United States Senator. So that letter triggered a lawsuit from the authors and writer of the foreword to the book, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and the publisher. And here is the motion to dismiss, an excerpt from the memorandum of law in support of the motion to dismiss that Senator Warren's lawyers wrote and filed with the court, asking the court to dismiss the case. And in this chat, I'm just going to read part of that memorandum, the part that raises the issue of the speech or debate clause of the US Constitution. This is something that Senator Warren is saying is a reason that the court should dismiss the case. The people suing her should not be allowed to sue her because the speech or debate clause provides absolute immunity for Congress and its members for any claims predicated on legislative activities. This absolute immunity extends to all civil actions. It protects legislators not only from the consequences of litigation results, but also from the burden of defending themselves. When a suit is predicated on legislative actions, the speech or debate clause operates as a jurisdictional bar. I'm skipping a paragraph here. Plaintiffs predicate their claims on information gathering and fact-finding by defendant Warren that is absolutely protected by the speech or debate clause. The complaint alleges that defendant Warren, acting in her capacity as a US Senator, wrote a letter to Amazon for the purpose of suppressing sales of plaintiff's constitutionally protected book. In reality, the letter sought information pursuant to defendant Warren's legislative responsibilities. This is an important distinction. I'm not reading right now, I'm editorializing, but I want you to remember this important distinction between how Senator Warren is characterizing the letter on her own website, what the letter actually says, and what this motion to dismiss says the letter says, what it is, how it characterizes the qualitative nature of this letter. Okay. The complaint alleges that defendant Warren, acting in her capacity as US Senator, wrote a letter to Amazon for the purpose of suppressing sales. In reality, says Senator Warren, via her lawyers, in reality, the letter sought information pursuant to defendant Warren's legislative responsibilities. As such, defendant Warren's actions are absolutely protected by the speech and debate clause. Reading on, the Supreme Court and the DC Circuit have emphasized that collecting information in furtherance of legislative responsibilities is an activity within the legislative sphere because a legislative body cannot legislate wisely or effectively in the absence of information respecting the conditions which the legislation is intended to affect or change. The privilege permits Congress to conduct investigations and obtain information without interference from the courts. Skipping a paragraph. Here, defendant Warren's letter to Amazon, the subject of plaintiff's complaint, was part of defendant Warren's information gathering and fact-finding responsibilities as a US Senator. The letter sought responses to specific questions concerning a matter on which the Senator actively legislates, votes, and engages in other official responsibilities, like those on the subcommittee on taxation and IRS oversight. The speech or debate clause permits members of Congress to obtain information without interference from the courts because information gathering is essential to informed deliberation over proposed legislation, among other considerations. Nearly done. In the final analysis, the proper inquiry for the courts is to assess the nature of the act to determine whether, stripped of all considerations of intent and motive, the challenged actions were legislative. So scrolling down a little. Once the legislative act test is met, which it is here, that is the end of the matter for the courts. Such is the nature of absolute immunity, which is, in a word, absolute. Accordingly, as defendant Warren's information gathering letter falls, I think you mean, within the legitimate legislative sphere, the speech or debate clause is an absolute bar to any claims against her stemming from that activity. That is what they're characterizing her letter as, information gathering, completely protected. How does she describe it? Following the FDA's full approval, and this is about the letter, okay? This is about the letter she sent. Here's the text of the letter that I was just reading from. How does she describe it? Following the FDA's full approval of Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine, and as the Delta variant surges across the country, Senator Warren is calling on Amazon to take aggressive action to stamp out COVID-19 misinformation. Here's a quote from a letter. And here's another quote from the letter. Given the seriousness of this issue, I ask you to perform an immediate review of Amazon's algorithms and within 14 days, provide a public report on the extent to which Amazon's algorithms are directing consumers to books and other products containing COVID-19 misinformation, and a plan to modify these algorithms so that they no longer do so. So that is information gathering, according to the lawyers. Where do they say that? Yeah. But information gathering letters, not an attempt to take aggressive action to stamp out COVID-19 misinformation. Well, I didn't succeed in my effort to not be snarky. I'm sorry. I'll try to do better in my blog, but there you have it. That's a letter that a US senator wrote, sent it to Amazon, says on the website it's to encourage Amazon to take aggressive action to stamp out misinformation. Now that the people who wrote the book she's taking aim at say that that's chilling, to put it mildly, their First Amendment rights, she says through counsel that she's got absolute immunity under the speech and debate clause, because this is just information gathering.